Hello everybody, it's Jenn, Scrapbena Creations. I have another 10 card video for you using the Doodlebug Milk and Cookies collection. So I'm using the 6x6 paper pad, the sticker icons, and you saw there I had taken out the sheet with the cut aparts because I'm going to be using them for many of the sentiments for the card. So here's a quick flip through. I already took out half of the paper pad to get my card ideas going. So the paper is absolutely adorable. I love it. I love all the pinks and the blues with the traditional green and red for Christmas. So I'm just going to show you here next a couple pictures of how I get started. So I lay out the pieces of paper on my desk and then I put the images on that paper that I want to use. So moving on to the card making, here's card number 1. I'm going to be using my Black Soot Distress ink here to just make some black background. You could use a black piece of cardstock if you wanted to, if you don't have the distress inks in your collection, although I do highly recommend them. They are great. So I die cut with a stitch circle, and then I also die cut a piece of white cardstock there, so I wanted it to be like the snow on the top of the rooftop, and I used a Lawn Fawn stitched border die for that as well. So I'm just going to get this little Santa Claus in the chimney placed, and then I'm going to start creating the card base. So I wanted to use this adorable brick paper, but I wanted to have the stitch lining across the top just so it looked a little bit more finished. So I used a stitched rectangle die from Lawn Fawn because I don't have just a straight edge stitching die, which would be good to add to my collection. But I'm going to adhere that down, and then I'm just going to trim that off. And then I'm left with a lot of that paper left over, which I'll use on another card. So I cut this strip that says, "Here comes Santa Claus," and I'm going to put that along the edge of the brick just to give it a little bit of a sentiment. I'm not going to put anything else on this card, so at least it has a little bit of wording. And then I'm just going to adhere the circle right onto the panel. You could put foam adhesive on this and pop it up if you wanted to, but I thought I would leave it nice and simple. So moving on to card number 2, I'm using this adorable paper that has a whole bunch of the little baking images and then the cake images. So I cut out the piece of paper with a stitched scalloped die from My Favorite Things, and then I'm just using a piece of that paper with a stitched rectangle die because I want it to serve as kind of a shelf for the images that I'm going to put on this card. So it's a good way to be able to use up that paper as well. And I wanted it to have the same stitching as the white panel that I'm going to put the images on. So I'm going to get that adhered down to the card base. And then I'm going to adhere this little piece of brown paper. It's really cute. It's got like candy canes and gingerbread on it. And then I'm going to start placing the images. So this is the first time I'm using the stickers, and I really liked it. If you saw my last video, I had mentioned that I had kind of been in a crafty funk and I'd lost my mojo, and one of my subscribers asked if I could do another 10 card video with this collection, and I had it in my stash with the stickers. I thought I might use it for my December daily, but decided not to. That's why I didn't buy the die cuts. So normally I do my Doodlebug 10 card videos with the die cut pack, but this time, seeing I had the stickers, I thought I'd go ahead and try this, and I actually think I liked it better than the die cuts. So I felt like that panel was going to get lost on the card. So I knew I was using a sentiment on red paper and one on green, so I was trying to get another color that would go with the paper. So I decided to go with the pink, and again just cut that with a stitched rectangle die, and then I'm going to pop it up on some fun foam so that it will give it a little bit of dimension. So all of these cards are really quick and simple. I was able to get these done in one full day, which is a record. Usually when I do the die cut packs, it usually takes me about 2 days to do them, but I found that my ideas were coming quite quickly with these little icons. So had a lot of fun doing this. So thanks for the recommendation. It did help get my crafty mojo back a little bit. So now that I have these on these panels on the card base, I'm just going to pop up the sentiments as well with some fun foam. Now the first one is going to be over the panel that's already popped up, so I just had to use a little piece on the end, and then I could put that into place. You're going to see here in a second that I actually needed to add a second layer of that fun foam because it was there was added dimension from the different layers of the cardstock and paper. So I'm going to get those adhered down, and then to finish off this card, I'm just going to use my Spectrum Noir glitter brush marker on the icing on the cakes, and the sentiments say, "Hello sweet cakes, season's greetings." So I thought that one turned out really cute. So I'm just going to show you that, and then I'm going to move on to card number 3. So card number 3, I'm just showing you, I'm using the back of the cut apart sheet that I wasn't using, and I'm using this Blueprints die. This is an MFT die. You've seen me use this before if you've watched my videos. So I'm going to get these cut out using those rectangle dies again. I swear those are the best investment I've ever made. So I'm going to use this as the background panel, and then I'm going to use this brown paper for what I wanted to look like a cupboard or a shelf in a kitchen, and I'm going to use a bunch of the little baking utensils and bowls and dishes and stuff for this card. I'm going to get that into place, and then I'm going to start playing around with the images. So there's this adorable little oven mitt, and when I'm placing these down, I'm not pushing them really hard in case I want to move them. These stickers are really cute because they have little cutout pieces, which I think just adds to the cuteness of them. So you'll see me throughout just using my little pick tool. The handle of the whisk had a little hole in it, which is adorable. So I'm going to get those down into place, and you can see the little shelf coming together here. Then there was this cute rolling pin, and I knew I wanted to have it kind of diagonal in that little square. So I get that into place, and then I kind of feel like there's too much space on that bottom right hand corner. So now I've got to try to figure out what I'm going to use, and I only have a few of the images left. I did cut up all of the stickers from the icon sticker sheet and kept them on the sticker backing paper until I was ready to use them, but this allowed me to be able to figure out which ones I wanted to use where. So the only thing I really had left was this mug, and I didn't really feel like the mug went with the baking theme, but I was trying to make it work. So I put the rolling pin at the back, but then you couldn't see its cute little face. And so I thought I would just leave this part in so you can see that sometimes it takes a little bit of jiggling around of certain things. So then I decided that I was going to cut the handle off and have it more like a bowl sitting on the cupboard. Kind of reminded me of maybe a bowl of brown sugar. I'm still trying to figure out how to get this in place so it looks good. So in the end, I decide to have the rolling pin horizontal, and then I'm going to have the little bowl up further. So I'm going to need to trim off that one edge of the handle so that it fits. And now I have to commit, because once that handle's gone, I don't have any more choices, but I do like the placement of this. So I'm just going to move that bowl over to the side, and then I feel like that rounds out that top part of the card nicely. For the bottom, and then I thought the little mitt needed something, and I had this spoon, and I knew I wasn't going to use this spoon for anything else, so I thought I might as well try to fit the little spoon in. So I made it look like the little oven mitt was holding the spoon, and I thought that looked really cute. So now I'm going to move on to the bottom shelf, and this is where I'm going to have the baked goods. So the cute little Christmas cupcakes. So originally I thought I was going to have the 3 tins with a cupcake on either side. That changes as I get going as well. So I start laying these out and realize I don't really like that setup. And then I felt like the cupcakes were getting lost in the background. So I grabbed this little piece of white cardstock that I cut out using the same die so it fit perfectly. And then I'm going to use some warm lipstick, Distress Oxide ink here, just to give a little bit of pink to the background so the white isn't as stark. And I'm using this very, very lightly, but it does give it just enough of color that the images really pop. So I'm going to adhere that into the space there, and then I'm going to get those little cupcakes into place. So this is where I start changing around where I want things to go. Like I said, not really liking this. So I decide to try something different. I'm going to move the tin of cupcakes over to the right and then have the 2 cupcakes over to the left. Thought about perhaps bringing in another one, but wanted an odd number, so decided against it. So this is going to be the final layout here, and then it gives me room to put the sentiment above the tin of the cupcakes. So I'm just going to fishtail the end of that, and that gives it a nice sentiment, and it reads "Have a Sweet Christmas," which is perfect for this little scene I've created. So just going to get that adhered down using my Nouveau glue, which I absolutely love. It is now my favorite liquid adhesive. I love the fine tip nozzle of it, so if you are looking for a good glue, I would definitely recommend that one. So finally going to get this in place. I'm going to use some of my Spectrum Noir glitter brush marker. Now this was a new marker and it was very wet, and you see at the end with all the still photos that it actually smeared some of the color of the oven mitt. So just be careful that you're not putting too much liquid on your card when you are using a brand new glitter brush marker. So for card number 4, I wanted to use this paper that had Merry Christmas written in a wavy pattern. So I'm going to use this for the bottom of the card. Just cut that out really simply with my scissors. And then I am going to use this as my layout. So again, I thought it just needed a little something. So I'm using my Distress Oxide in Broken China. I'm using a very light hand here because this is just a pre-made card base. I use the Joanne brand. I buy them when I'm visiting the States, and I just like them because they're already done. I don't have to do extra work, but they're not the easiest to blend on. So you just need to be a bit careful. But I just got a little bit of that blue color so that the images can really pop off the page. I'm going to trim up this bottom panel here, or strip of paper, and then I'm going to put the sentiment on, which reads, "We wish you a Merry Christmas." And then I'll put the sticker icons on. So I wanted to make sure this was straight. Usually I don't worry too much, but I couldn't get it to look quite right. So I brought in my ruler just to see how much was on either side, and just tried to move it in place there before the glue had a chance to dry. So when I got that fairly centered, I started to work on the Santa and Mrs. Claus. Now again, you could pop these up on some foam adhesive and it would look really cute, but I wanted to make some simple one layer, not really one layer, but non-dimensional cards that are easy to mail. So I'm just going to have them kind of holding hands on the front of the card. And then I'm going to bring in my Nouveau glitter accents in Fresh Snowfall, and I'm going to place that on Santa's hat. Thought I'd use some enamel dots here just to bring in those other colors that were in the paper that I hadn't used yet. So here's the new Snowfall, and I absolutely love it. It gives it a nice dimension without having too much of a puff. So I also have the snow marker by Marvy that you have to use a heat tool with. This one's really easy. You just put it on and it dries nicely, and none of the glitter comes off once it's dry. So that card is now done. So we will move on to card number 5. This is an adorable piece of paper with milk and cookies on it. I wanted to cut out a half circle to frame the little stickers. I just ran it through my die cutting machine and only cut it so that it cut half the circle. And then I'm just using my X-Acto knife here to cut out the rest of that, so it gives me a half circle. And then I could just turn over that piece of paper that I cut out and it actually matched perfectly, which was great. I cut out some of the sentiment banners and the little pieces of paper that came in the paper pad, the one with all the little strips of images and sentiments. So I'm going to get this adhered, and I'm just going to use some glue so it gives me some time to get that on and in place so that it's straight. I thought about popping up the little half circle for some dimension, but decided that I liked it just flat to the card base. So got that in place, and then I decided that I was going to pop up this strip, and it just says Treats for Santa across it. It's really cute. So I decided to use some fun foam for that, and I'm just going to place that along the bottom of the strip. And I'm going to get that into place. And then there was also this little pattern of cookies. So I thought I would use that underneath it just to ground it and to kind of separate it from the busyness of the back of the paper that I used for the background. So I'm going to get those in place, going to let them dry for a couple of seconds, and then I'll trim them off. And I did pop up the little images here on some foam adhesive as well. So I'm just trying to see how I want these, whether I want them right to the bottom edge or if I want them centered a bit more within that half circle. So I'm going to put them up a little bit. I thought it looked cute with the teal underneath them as well. It just framed them better, I thought. Added these adorable little cookies. And that will basically be it for this card. I do add some glitter brush marker to the milk as well, just to finish it off and give it something a little extra. Really love how this one turned out. You wouldn't think it's necessarily Christmas, but with the sentiment Treats for Santa, it definitely made it into a Christmas card. Now, the sticker pack also has these little heart stickers, which are adorable. And I had gotten a little splatter of paint on that brown piece of paper, so I wanted to cover it up in the bottom left there. And then I wanted to add 2 more so that there was an odd number, because odd numbers are more pleasing to the eye. So I tried to figure out where I wanted it, finally landed there, that last one. And now we can move on to card number 6. So for card number 6, I'm using this fancy square die from My Favorite Things, and it just gives a nice little opening. I thought about just turning it around and using the green, which you could totally do, but I didn't think that the green Christmas tree popped enough. So I grabbed a piece of blue cardstock from my stash and decided that that gave the Christmas tree enough of a pop from the paper. So I'm going to put in one of the little replenishments pouches that you can purchase. It fits perfectly, which allows you to have a shaker card. So I decided to just put the tree right on the cardstock there, and I'm going to adhere that down to the panel. I'm not pushing the paper down hard because I want to get this tree in place. So once I have it moved to where I need it to be, I'm going to use some of these little buffalo snowflakes for my shaker element on this card. So very quick, simple card to make, but the little shaker component I think adds some extra interest to it, so it's not as simple as just having the tree on that panel. So for the sentiment, I'm going to use Have a Jolly, Holly Jolly Christmas. I'm just placing that right on the card, and you could pop that up as well, given there's already dimension, but I thought it looked cute just on the paper pad. So moving on to card number 7, I decided to use the gingerbread paper, which is adorable, and the red paper here to highlight it. So I wanted to make a scalloped edge, so I'm using a lawn fawn die for that. I'm just going to cut that in my Big Shot machine, and that will overhang the gingerbread piece of paper. So I'm going to adhere these directly to my card base. And once I get those on, I'm going to be using the little, there was 3 gingerbread stickers in the icon set. You'll see here there's a little bit of overhang on the card base, so I am going to trim that up off camera. And also this red piece of paper, I wasn't quite sure how long I wanted it, so I had trimmed off extra. And I'm going to use the sentiment again, We Wish You a Merry Christmas. So I cut out 3 circles with a stitched circle die. These are from Simon Says Stamp. And I'm going to put a gingerbread on each one of the circles and going to adhere those into place. I find the white just allowed them to really pop off the page. So I just got to make sure I get these straight. This guy was a little bit off, so just pulled him up and got him into place. And then I felt like it needed more white to balance out the card. So I cut that strip, didn't like it, cut out another banner die from My Favorite Things, and then I'm going to use that as the focal point for the sentiment. And now the white is tied into 2 different elements on the card. And to finish off this card, I grabbed some gold glitter enamel dots that I had in my stash. They worked perfectly because they play on the brown color, so I'm just going to get those into place and move on to card number 8. For card number 8, I'm using this diamond type pattern. It's really cute. And then I used another scrap of the brown paper there, and that has the cookies and the candy canes and the gingerbread on them. And I'm going to use this circle die cut out of white cardstock for the focal point of the images. So again, I'm using the Worn Lipstick Distress Oxide ink and just putting on a little bit of color just to give it just some added color so that the images can really pop. And plus I just didn't want it to be so stark white. So I cut out the panel and the piece of brown paper with the rectangle die again, as well as this little piece of paper here, and it just says Milk and Cookies, and it has little pinkish red hearts on it. And I'm going to place the circle right there. And then I decided I needed another image, so I grabbed the Cozy Christmas by Lawn Fawn, and there's this little card that says To Santa. So I'm just using a very light aqua alcohol marker, and I think that that added to the effect, because otherwise it didn't feel like it was really going to be a Christmas card. And plus, everything is more pleasing in 3s or odd numbers, so that just rounded out the images. If you have an extra cookie, that would work, or you could even draw something like this little note So just grounded the images with some grays, and then I'm using the glitter brush marker again to finish off this card. And we're almost done. Moving on to card number 9. This is the back of the chimney paper. So I'm just going to cut this off. I'm going to use this as the bottom of my card. So I'm going to adhere that to the card base. This card is super simple, very easy to do, but I didn't have another image that would go with the Santa faces, and I really wanted to use it. So I'm just using the cut apart for this one. And this was a cut apart border from one of the papers as well. It has the red and white stripes. It kind of reminds me of candy canes, but I felt like it just gave a nice pop with all of the blue. So I'm going to trim that down. And then I'm going to actually just adhere this little cut apart piece with Santa Claus. It says Santa Claus is coming to town. I'm going to put it right on the card panel. Again, you could use some foam adhesive here, would look really cute. And then I'm just going to use some red enamel dots here to finish off the card. And I played around with the placement of these quite a bit, decided I didn't like that where it was, had to pull it up, and the card is done. So moving on to card number 10, I decided to end with a shaker card. So I'm using the stitched rectangle die here with the scallop border from MFT and a Lawn Fawn stitched rectangle die to make a border. And I'm going to cut those out so that gives me a nice border to put my foam adhesive on so that I can pop this up for a shaker card. I decided to use some score tape for that so that it was nice and sticky. So I'm just going to put that on around the frame. I'm going to adhere my acetate, and I just use leftover packaging. I doubled up some foam adhesive, and then I'm going to use my anti-static tool here to try and make sure that the items don't stick to the sides of the tape. So I'm going to put this panel down on the back. It's really cute. It's a piece of paper that has all kinds of little candies on it, and there were a ton of images in the icon sticker set of candies, and I really didn't know how else I would use them. So I decided to remove all the stickiness off the stickers, and I was going to use those as my shaker elements. So you can see here I'm using my embossing buddy, laying down a bunch of powder. It took me a while to get all the stickiness off, but I'm just rubbing it there in some of the powder that's come out of the bag. So now they're all in the shaker card. I used a banner strip on the inside. It says Goody Gumdrops. And then I'm using this one on the outside, which says Merry Christmas. So I'm just going to stick that underneath the little border that I made, just so that it looks nice and finished. And then I'm going to cut out a white circle from a scalloped die. I think that's a Sizzix die. I'm going to put that on the lower right hand corner. And then I'm going to crisscross 2 of the candy cane stickers that came on the sheet to finish off the decoration for this card. And that's it. I don't do anything else to that one, but it's a really sweet shaker card. So I'm going to show you guys all of the cards now. I hope you enjoyed. Please let me know which one is your favorite. That's always the best part of reading the comments on these videos, to find out which ones you liked the best. But I had a lot of fun creating these. I think I do prefer the stickers over the die cut pack, so it was fun to play around with them. I think that Milk and Cookies one is one of my favorites. It's so cute. So thank you all for watching. I know these are really long videos. I appreciate all of you. Please don't forget to hit the like button if you enjoyed this video and would like me to do more in the future. If you're new to my channel, welcome. Please consider subscribing. I would really appreciate it. Here are the still photos. I ended up adding some of the glitter drops onto Santa for that first card. You can see here where the glitter brush marker had gotten on some of that paper there, got the colors moving, but it's okay. I'm still going to send it out. So thanks again, everybody, for watching, and I will see you really soon in the next video. Take care. Have a great day. Bye.